House of Reps holds public hearing on Electoral Offences Commission. Also on the program,
we have been able to manage the crisis, and crisis managers abound in the APC.
I'll talk to ranking member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Aminu Suleiman. You're watching the Hallowed Chambers on TVC News. I am Tijesu Adiri. The House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters held a public hearing on the bill for an act to establish the National Assembly Offences Commission. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission told stakeholders that the country's electoral process would remain incomplete if offenders are allowed to walk freely. But his advocacy was strongly opposed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, which described the proposed commission as a duplication of the agency's functions.
House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters on this historic public hearing aimed at getting the input and opinion of all stakeholders on the bill for an act to establish the National Electoral Offences Commission and for Electoral Matters 2022. It is important to remind this August gathering that shortly after our inauguration as the 9th House of Representatives, a committee saddled with the responsibility of drafting the legislative agenda of the 9th Assembly was inaugurated. Now it may interest you to know that the legislative agenda, which was unanimously adopted by the House,
the Independent National Electoral Commission have been criticized for not taking the bull by the horn to directly address lingering issues of misconduct during elections. The National Assembly deemed it necessary to unbundle and not overburden the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) by consolidating the Passive Electoral Act 2022 with the enactment of the Act of Parliament that will address free and post-election bias.
Don't leave that responsibility to INEC. We have no power to make arrests. We have no capacity to investigate that will lead to successful prosecution. And some of the offenders may be INEC officials. We can't prosecute ourselves. Establish a commission to which all of us, anybody who violates the law.
The House Committee on Finance has summoned the managing director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria over the Azura power plant contract. The lawmakers were not satisfied with the explanations provided by the representatives of the TCN over the $30 million Azura power deal. The chairman of the committee, Honorable James Faliki, asked tough questions and demanded to get all details about the deal.
We always prefer the head of the agencies to be on seat. Reason being that we don't want, if we ask questions and you say, oh, sorry, sir, I have to clarify. We always want final answer from that head of agency. And since you are not the MD, we don't want going forward and backward on issues that we just need clarification for. We are not accusing anybody. We are just looking for a way out of power crisis.
What is being generated by Azura varies. Even though they have the capacity of 450 megawatts, they can't even generate up to the maximum capacity. So most of the time it varies.
Come again, sir.
What they are generating varies.
Yes.
Even though their capacity is 450 megawatts. They can be generating 100 now. Maybe there is much demand. Then they can increase it to 300. They can be generating 300 for 1 hour. Maybe there is a rainfall. Everything switch off. They have to come down.
Engineers, you have to come to our level. And you are speaking to Nigerians, not just us. You will sign agreements with Azura to generate 450 megawatts onto the grid, right?
Yes.
We'll take a quick break now. We will be back shortly with the rest of the program. Stay with us.
The National Assembly is a busy place. As the bastion of democracy, it is a place where bills are presented, motions debated, laws made, and the yearnings of the people are laid bare. Come with us as we take you through the workings of the National Assembly. We take you through plenary, committee meetings, and probes, all to ensure smooth working of the democratic process.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Joining me now on the program is the representative of Fage Federal Constituency in Kano State, Honorable Aminu Suleiman. It's good to have you on the program.
It's my pleasure being with you, as usual. Thank you very much.
As one of the ranking members, tell us how your journey to the National Assembly has been.
Well, with gratitude to God and continuous appreciation to the people of my constituency. I can say that the 12 years that one has had the privilege of representing his own people is exciting, as it is quite challenging. It is exciting in the sense that when one makes a reflection, one can only but be grateful to God and his constituent that among the very many equally qualified individuals, one had the privilege for over a decade of representing his people. The challenging aspect of it is service delivery, because you cannot enjoy a privilege without exercising corresponding responsibility attached to that privilege. And therefore, for some of us that have spent the better part of their life in activism, in criticizing and engaging government, and suddenly find yourself in a position of authority, one does not need any soothsayer to tell him that he is already challenged. And therefore, with that in mind, I have never had a resting period. I have never observed a holiday, just as the reality is showing now. We are on recess, but we have created time out of this holiday to see how we can attend to state matters. This is how it has been for the past 12 years, very little time for one and family, and devoting most of the time for the constituents, for the country, and for the aspirations and demand of our constituents. Sometimes we succeeded, and sometimes you couldn't pull through, not because you don't want, not because you have not tried, but it is like the window is saturated. Everybody is coming on with or her own demand on behalf of the people. So like I said, it is quite exciting. It's a privilege that humble one, but the challenges are quite enormous, and we can only keep trying.
You are one of those who indicated interest to contest the speakership seat, but was prevailed on to step down. Is that dream still alive?
Well, I think as no individual that particularly political practitioner would want to say that he is living without a dream. And it's just like the son of a royal blood. The son of a royal blood would not want his father to exit or to die. But the clamor for him to be a king himself never diminishes. As much as he likes and loves the father, he still wants to be king. I can assure you that 90% of every very serious legislature would want to have the opportunity to preside over the house. And I can tell you that I belong to that class. I have made an attempt, and most of the time objectivity prevails for the benefit of the house, for the benefit of our party, and for the benefit of the country. And therefore, like you rightly said, once the costs are clear, and the aspiration received the understanding and blessing of the colleagues, and the party in her wisdom felt where I come from should have the opportunity. Absolutely, I will give it a try.
Talk to us about Kano politics and your party. Who's in charge?
Well, we were in the PDP. We won election in 2011 under the banner of the PDP. But like you rightly know that every party structure and caucuses have leadership and mentor. So although we were in the PDP, our leader and mentor then was Governor Rabiu Konkoso, and even when he left the office, we were still loyal to his leadership. And when we decided to dump the PDP, of course, under his leadership, we relocated and joined the All Progressive Congress under his leadership. And as the going went off, of course, the political interest and, of course, various permutations necessitated our parting ways. And at that time, majority of us left and queue behind the current governor of Kano State. And eventually in the process, Governor Konkoso, or Senator Konkoso as he was then, decided to leave the APC. And since he has left the APC, that automatically means that we have parted ways. That is to the extent of us being members of the Konkosia and now not members of the Konkosia movement.
What is your assessment of your party's primary elections?
If you look at it, it is both ways. Both parties are now battling to contend with the aftermath of the primaries. It is not only APC. At least the two leading parties, the APC and the PDP. And my dear sister, this is a natural phenomenon in party politics, particularly as they relate to primaries. Unfortunately, the African traditional way of politicking is such that most of the time, election matters. Most of the time, individual interest also matters. And therefore, you will spend 3.5 years in a party with the same people, tolerating one another, but once interest of aspirations for individual clashes, then the party takes a second stand. People are prepared to jettison the party not on the basis of difference of ideology, principles, or belief. Therefore, if you said our party, except if you want to hear our own party, but I can tell you that reconciliation and healing process in the APC is more strong and result-oriented than all the other parties. At least no segment of the APC structure is distancing itself from the flag bearer or the party. We have been able to manage the crisis, and crisis managers abound in the APC, and they are working assiduously to the extent that the very little voices of dissent are melting down. And I can assure you, before the kickstart of the campaign on September 28th, the APC will become one big family. And the other parties, you can see now, some very strong members of the party are still not recognizing the presidential candidate. So they are a big crisis, and I hope they will continue with the crisis so that we will reap from that crisis.
Do you think the Tinubu-Shatima presidential ticket is a deal breaker in next year's presidential election?
Well, you see, unfortunately, in Nigeria, we places pretentiously, very, very pretentiously, issues of religion as a basis to divide innocent electorate. All the people that are shouting a Muslim, same faith, I tell you, from the bottom of their heart, they have been personal, sentimental. Even the sentiment is not natural. It is personally induced. Those who come out, for instance, unfortunately just a few days ago, to hold what they call APC Christian Association to shout, for me, are the greatest disappointment I have ever seen. Because the APC platform paraded 70% Christian candidate. 70%. You have the vice president, who is not even an ordinary Christian like them. He's a pastor in one of the leading churches in Nigeria. You have Rotimi Amechi on the ballot, and the very many of them. The Christian on the ballot in the primaries double the Muslim. Yet, the former SGF, for instance, and our former speaker were leading mobilizers for Tinubu. So if they love Christian as they are making us to believe now, even if they would lose, they would have prepared to lose with either Osimbojo or Rotimi Amechi. Why did they go and mobilize for a Muslim in Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Because both of them were clamoring to be vice president. So at that time, they suspended Christianity. And after losing election, then they carried their membership of Christianity and say, no, Christianity has been shortchanged. I mean, it's really unfortunate. Let me tell you, my sister, I am a Muslim. The current president is a Muslim. In what way am I better? Because I'm a Muslim. In what way? In which way is a Christian shortchanged because a Muslim is a president?
Do you feel the Peter Obi movement is a threat to your party's presidential candidate?
Obi was 5 states. Was 5 states. 5 states out of 36 will make somebody president. We were even happy with the disobedient people. We are very, very happy with the disobedient because they have divided the vote of the PDP. So we are very happy. Very, very, very happy. May God bless the disobedient. Let them continue to be disobedient to the PDP. We are very, very happy. Because that is not our vote that has gone away.
So you don't believe Labour Party can pull this off?
Which is Labour Party? Are we talking of a councillorship or chairmanship of a local government? Of course, I only have sympathy for our friends. We know that the Saudis have fallen out of PDP. So our sympathy is to the PDP, and we are celebrating that. I know that Labour Party, on the basis of created sentiment, may win Southeast. But I still hope that 1 or 2 states may still come to the APC, even in the Southeast. But the worst, 5 states. But those 5 states, my sister, we have never won them. So we're not going to lose them because they're not part of our calculation. They are not. The APC won in 2019 without a state from the Southeast. We won in 2019 without a state from the Southeast. They choose to be in the opposition. That is in the opposition. There is a fundamental right to do so. But you know that we are making incursion in the Southeast with several members now. We have made incursion even by the fundamental project of the second Niger bridge that has been denied to them by the PDP for 16 years, and APC within 8 years was able to give them what they have been clamoring for 50 years. If we are doing politics of principles and value added, I am sure nobody would have followed PDP. And maybe that is why they left the PDP and formed Labour instead of following APC to appreciate what the APC has done for them that has been denied by the PDP. They decided to join an oblivion party.
Let's talk about rising insecurity in the country, which is also likely to threaten the 2023 election if it's not nipped in the bud. What is the government really doing to end this?
I will not be able to manufacture a defense. I must concede the fact that in an examination of 100 questions, as a party we have lost 10 questions. That is an issue of security. Nobody will be able to defend the situation as it is, not out of any fault that is ours, but the fact that we are in government, we must continue to bear a responsibility for this unfortunate scar. We must continue to bear the responsibility of non-deliverance in this sector, but I am sure you will agree with me that there are clear commitment on the part of government, clear concern and worry on how to arrest this unfortunate situation. Government and the APC inherited the dreaded Boko Haram. They were dismantled, disorganized, pursued, and they were scattered all over the country. And as criminals as they are, since they cannot continue with the Boko Haram principle, they now scatter around the country and became bandits. Majority of the bandits are these members who have been dismantled from the northeast, Borno in particular, and they now spread since they have decided that they will live a life of anguish, life of irresponsibility, life of being a headache to civilized society. They choose, instead of repenting, to change gear and become bandits.
But the concerns are, why has it been near impossible for the government to tame these bandits, despite the huge funds allocated to buy military weapons?
I tell you, I consider the fact that I'm not putting up a defense, but issue of criminality, my sister, there is no country in the world that is immune to it. No country in the world will claim that it is completely immune to issue of insecurity in the country. Even the most secured country in the world, the United States of America, experiences sporadic cases of insecurity, of attack against the innocent. In places of worship, in places of relaxation, we just had one not quite a month ago. Even in holy places like Saudi Arabia, you now have them. So it is only the volume and degree that our own has reached. So the issue of saying government has not been able, no, for this particular I agree, but to say it will completely be eliminated, that one is just a rhetorical question to continue to blackmail our party and our government. But we are responsible enough to admit that this is a huge challenge that we have not been able to overcome. We are not going to pretend about it. We have not overcome it. We will continue to bear this cross, but we are only rattled. We are not completely overwhelmed in this matter, and by the grace of God, we shall win the war. Before Bihar leaves, I have that belief. Otherwise, government is a continuum. Bola Ahmed Tinubu will take over and conclude the remainder.
On a final note, talk to us about how well your 12 years stay in the House of Representatives has impacted your constituents.
Well, I thank God for the opportunity. If I would want to limit myself to the constitutional responsibility of a legislature, of being in the House to ensure that issues of a better life are achieved through motions and bills, I would have simply marked myself 100%. But I have gone out of that voyage to say that my own constituency can only say what is it that the member has not done. I have done roads, I have done schools, I have done hospitals, I have done employment. There is basically very little I have not done, to the extent that although in my primaries I was not returned unopposed, 2 people contested me, but out of the 110 delegates in my own constituency, the 2 opponents shared 4 votes among themselves. Thank God, and they have conceded, they have teamed up with me to ensure that we continue to provide dividend of democracy. Election has come. I am not printing posters. People are donating posters to me. I'm not printing banners. People are donating banners to me. Last week, I received about 10 vehicles from individuals supporting my campaign. For me, that is an appreciation of the services I have rendered, and it certainly be a stimulant for me to sustain this monumental task, and I can only pray to God to continue to give me the opportunity so that my own constituency will be the top in my state and in Nigeria if possible.
That is all on the program this week. You can watch a repeat of this episode at 7 a.m. on Sunday. Also, you can see this episode again on TVC News YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe, like and share. Thank you for watching the Hallowed Chambers on TVC News. I am Tijesu Adiri.